Hello, everybody. Ryan Garland here, Paradyme CEO of Paradyme. I want to give you guys a quick update on Lake Havasu. And it is my honor to introduce you guys to Josh. Josh is our project manager. Real quick background, Josh is a partner with a guy by the name of John Fitton. John sits on our board and has been a huge help during this market to try to keep financing coming our way and keeping this project moving forward. And Josh works directly with him and has finished one of the largest projects in Park City. Was it 42 million? You guys, this big old custom home for the owner of Rockstar?
Yep, no, closed just a hair below 40 million.
There you go, right on. Largest sale, highest sale, right?
Yep, highest sale in the state's history.
Right on. So before I let you kind of tee off to talk about your background, really good news last Friday, which is one of the reasons why I'm a little late to give you guys an update. I wanted to make sure I give you a good update now, but we did close and record on a construction loan to finish phase one. We're very lucky. We only need about $1.5 million. We did do a little bit of adjustments. We're adding some additional components to the units, but it's all turned out to be absolutely perfect. We're not having any concerns on selling the units today. In fact, I received a phone call from a friend of mine, and we're putting them in escrow as we speak with Eric. Eric sends me contracts at least once or twice a week to sign. The last quarter, obviously, through the holidays, it was a little quiet, but everything's starting to pick back up, which is kind of normal. February, everyone kind of goes back to normal. So we're seeing a lot of uptick there. I don't know if for those of you that are in Havasu, you probably have seen the new magazine with Paradyme right on the front of it. I think everybody in Havasu is getting it, straight delivered to their door. As of the last couple of days, Eric's received some phone calls off that as well. So I think we're, from a marketing side, we're doing great. From locking up contracts and getting people in escrow, we're doing great. One of the other amazing things, and I'm not going to announce it because I told him I wouldn't, but one of the larger, most influential, probably boat builders or what have you, just bought the two largest units. We're in escrow for $700,000 for the two largest units on building B. So, we're going to have a lot of influence, which we expected to have, with especially having Millionaires Row. The people want to be in part of that. The buyer today, as an example, selling another unit just to put his project or his toys in our units, because we're just have a nicer product and nicer amenities as well. So with that said, I think everything's going really positive. We're still on track to deliver these units. We are having one hiccup we're going to share with you here in a second. But Josh, if you don't mind, real quick background bullet points, please.
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, so I used to work for a general contractor in Las Vegas, Tudor Perini. I'm sure people are familiar. I worked on some of their large marquee projects, like City Center, et cetera. So, well versed in the fast-paced.
City Center was a massive project. 11 billion, wasn't it? Something like that.
At the time, it was the largest privately funded project in the world. It was at 7.1 billion.
Yeah, didn't it go? I think it went over budget, didn't it?
A couple times.
That doesn't mean we went over budget on ours, but I think it went over budget. I heard about that.
Yeah, no, it did. There was some rescue capital that came in, but at the end of the day, it got finished, and it's a good place.
And then you ended up at a private equity firm and a family, right? Family office.
I did. I was recruited by a family office, worked for them through the last recession, and completed their projects. They were a Forbes top 10 net worth family. Completed that, and then was recruited over to a private equity firm out of Beverly Hills, where I was in charge of 1,200 retail stores, manufacturing build outs, media center, just whatever it took to keep a private equity fund running. I was over their construction.
You're over doing it right on. Well, thank you, Josh, for that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about delivery and switchgear, and then we'll talk on phase two. So delivery date, let's talk about that. I think for most people, we were on track to deliver in March, which is still possible if we get the electrical switchgear in. So Josh, if you don't mind, kind of talk about that, if you don't mind.
So switchgear is right now in the electrical industry are the bottleneck. They're a very long lead item. This one was, the approval came across from the power company on July 29th. All the paperwork, everything, it was ordered on August the 2nd. So there was really no time wasted there. Everything moved as quickly as it could. It's just, we're at the mercy of the production of the switchgear that's been approved. And we've explored other avenues for them, and none of them would make it pencil or really improve the project's timeline that drastically, especially to offset the cost.
Right. So we may be a month, maybe two, getting past March to be able to deliver phase one units. So what we're doing, for all of you guys to know, which is important because one of the things that we were leaning on was to try to take the working capital from the sale of the phase one units and start rolling it into future phases. With how we're doing this, and this is where Josh's pedigree has been really appreciated, is he's able to come in and we were able to get our financing. So we have enough money now to finish phase one. I've been able to work with a couple of buyers to release 100% of the purchase of those units in phase one. We're receiving that early. So in essence, I am able to get my hands on some of the capital that would go from the sale of these units. I'm able to take that and now start ordering the material for phase two. Phase two, I believe, is fully graded, pads are graded, and we have some underground in. We also are just waiting on, which has been good because this is the positive, a big positive is how much you've been able to drop the cost of steel, or how much you've been able to throttle back on our cost to build this whole project. But with that said, I'll share that in a sec. With that said, we're going to be able to keep phase two going. So even though we may not be able to get all of our capital from phase one, the reality was I wouldn't need that much to start phase two and order all of the building material. So we will have enough money to keep building C going, again, phase two. And then as the units do start closing out, when that switchgear comes in, I'll have enough dry powder to start phase three and phase four. So we're not worried about it. There's not going to create any delays. Everything's still on time. The other good thing is that the building materials, for example, steel, instead of it being a 16 weeks or 18-week lead time like we had last year to get the steel in that we have for phase one, it's now 6 to 8 weeks. So you're starting to see, building material coming a lot sooner, which is really going to help us given the whole entire situation with the switchgear. But other than that, I think we are still very optimistic being able to sell units. Timelines haven't changed. The only thing we're just, we take a little longer is just actually getting our certificate of occupancy for phase one. And then obviously that will allow us to sell those units, but that's really our only hurdle at the moment. Josh, anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, with the supply chain straightening out, our scheduling is a lot more predictable. That's where we're going to be able to save some more costs.
Right.
Being able to, know when things will be delivered, know when things will be produced.
Right.
That, we can really hit the ground running and schedule all the trades much tighter instead of having, little periods of time where you're waiting for production or, things that just arrived to the site. So there wasn't much going on, and we're able to trim up the GCs and tighten it up and bring the costs down globally on the project.
Yeah, and kind of go back to the normal way of doing business prior to the pandemic, right? Kind of standard practices are starting to come back, which feels good because it's not so chaotic. And trying to get this material and try to manage it all, it's now becoming a lot more manageable. And it's also great because now we can start bringing down our costs. So being able to sell these units for the price that we've been selling them for and continuing that strategy, if we bring down the cost of construction and we're still be able to hit our timelines, in essence, there's more profit to be made on the table or left on the table. So we're really hoping that all of these aspects kind of continue to go down the lane that they are. We know we'll have hiccups, the switchgear is that we can control. I think within 3 days, I approved that, and said, let's go order that switchgear. So there was definitely no delays there. But other than that, I think that's it, guys. I wanted to give you guys all an update. For those of you, again, I talked to, I really appreciate your support. Those of you are also, some of you are also in other projects and have kind of seen the hurdles that I'm dealing with. But at the end of the day, we feel very optimistic. We think that this is going to be a small, light recession. We think Q3 is going to see a huge boom, kind of a lot of, new construction financing coming out on the streets. And a lot more better leverage. But there's a lot of investors coming into the US that are trying to get their money out of, Europe and so on, where there's a lot of other countries that are a lot worse off than we are. This is still a safe haven for everybody around the world. So we're doing really good on seeing capital move. It just takes time for them to be able to go through compliance and get it out on the street. So there's a lot of great talks. In my last video, I talked about Blackstone is really going into the alternative sector, pushing private credit and mortgage-backed securities. So in essence, financing for projects is going to go well. And in essence, real estate is probably going to hold rather well too. So I'd like to kind of keep that moving forward, as far as sourcing debt. But at the end of the day, we're on the right track. So Josh, thank you very much for your time, buddy. If there's anything else you need to add, please do. If that's it.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Just look forward to getting phase one wrapped up and getting phase two bought out, which we're currently working on to get the prices down to the current market.
Yep. And all the sales are moving forward quickly. And, we were going to try to get Eric on this call just to be able to hear from him, but I'll do another recording with him on the next update. So thanks, Josh. Have a good one, buddy.
You too.